I'm sure you've heard the news. The United States has just dumped UNESCO. Again. It's all over the headlines, and if you're like most people, you might be wondering, what's the big deal? Why does this keep happening? Why does America seem to have such a complicated, on-again, off-again relationship with this United Nations agency? Is it just political drama, or is there something deeper going on here? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive into a story that's got more twists and turns than your favorite TV soap opera. But before we get into the drama, let's start with the basics. What exactly is UNESCO, and why does it keep getting ghosted by America? Why does this relationship seem so fraught, and why does it matter to the rest of the world? Let's break down the global drama, high school style. Imagine the world as a giant school, and all the countries are students. Some are popular, some are rebels, and some just want to get along. In this school, UNESCO is like the cool cousin who's always organizing the best field trips, running science fairs, and making sure everyone's history projects are top-notch. But every so often, the US storms out of the club, slamming the door behind them. Why? Let's find out. So, what does UNESCO actually do? Well, think of it as the United Nations' artsy, brainy, and slightly idealistic cousin. Founded in 1945, right after World War II, UNESCO's mission is to build peace in the minds of men and women. How? By promoting international collaboration in education, science, culture, and communication. They protect World Heritage Sites, those jaw-dropping places like the Great Wall of China, Machu Picchu, and Stonehenge. They run global education programs, help preserve endangered languages, and even work to ensure clean water and scientific cooperation across borders. Basically, if it's about making the world smarter, safer, and more connected, UNESCO's probably involved. Think about it. The pyramids of Giza, the ancient city of Petra, the peace summits that bring together leaders from every corner of the globe, UNESCO is the glue that helps hold all these cultural treasures and international efforts together. It's about peace through culture, understanding through education, and progress through science. But as with any big family, not everyone always gets along. Now, let's talk about the US and UNESCO. Their relationship? It's a classic on-again, off-again soap opera. Sometimes they're best friends, working together to save the world's treasures. Other times, they're barely speaking, with the US storming out and UNESCO left wondering what went wrong. It's a saga that's been playing out for decades with plenty of drama, misunderstandings, and political intrigue. Here's the highlight reel. In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan pulled the US out of UNESCO, claiming it was too bureaucratic, too political, and too anti-Western. Fast forward to 2003 and President George W. Bush decided it was time to make up, rejoining the agency in the spirit of post-9/11 global cooperation. But the honeymoon didn't last. In 2017, President Donald Trump stormed out again, this time citing what he called anti-Israel bias and a need to put America's interests first. Each exit and re-entry has sent shockwaves through the international community, leaving allies and rivals alike wondering what the US will do next. Fast forward to 2023, President Joe Biden decides it's time for another reunion. Why? To counter China's growing influence at UNESCO. With the US out, China had been stepping up, filling the leadership vacuum and shaping the agency's agenda. Biden's move was all about making sure the US still had a seat at the table, and a say in how the world's cultural and scientific priorities are set. But as we've seen, these reunions don't always last. Cue 2025, Trump's back in the White House and, just like that, exit stage right. The US is out of UNESCO again, leaving the world to wonder, what now? Is this just another episode in the never-ending saga, or is something bigger at play? So why did the Trump team decide to walk away again? According to them, UNESCO has become too political, pushing what they call divisive agendas and globalist goals that don't align with America's interests. They argue that the agency has lost its way, focusing more on politics than on its original mission of promoting peace and understanding. For Trump and his supporters, leaving UNESCO is about standing up for American values and putting the country first, even if it means going it alone on the world stage. Supporters of the move cheer it as a bold stand for sovereignty and independence. They see it as America refusing to be pushed around by international organizations that don't always share its values. But critics? They warn that it's like unplugging your mic at the biggest global meeting, walking away from the conversation just when your voice matters most. They argue that by leaving, the US is giving up its ability to shape the rules, protect its interests, and build alliances that matter in an increasingly interconnected world. Here's the kicker. While the US was once UNESCO's top funder, its share of the agency's budget has shrunk to just 8%. That's a big drop from the days when American dollars kept the lights on at UNESCO headquarters. The decline started back in 2011, when the US stopped paying dues after UNESCO admitted Palestine as a member. Since then, other countries have stepped up, and the US has become less central to the agency's finances. But money isn't the only thing at stake. By leaving UNESCO, the US isn't just saving money, it's also giving up influence. That means more room for rivals like China to step in and shape the world's cultural and scientific agenda. China has been investing heavily in UNESCO projects, promoting its own vision of global culture and development. For some, that's a worrying shift with long-term consequences for everything from World Heritage sites to global education standards. For others, it's just the natural ebb and flow of international politics. So, what's really going on here? Is this a principled stand for American values, a necessary pushback against global overreach, or just another round of political theater? Is the US making a statement that will echo through history, or is it just playing to the crowd at home? The truth is, it's probably a little bit of all of the above. International organizations like UNESCO are always going to be arenas for big power politics, clashing values and shifting alliances. The US-UNESCO saga is just the latest chapter in a much bigger story about how nations define themselves and their place in the world. So, what do you think? Is the US making a bold statement or just burning more bridges? Is this about principle, politics, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because in the end, the conversation about America's place in the world is one we all have a stake in. Whether you're cheering the move or shaking your head, one thing's for sure, the US-UNESCO drama isn't over yet. Stay tuned, because in the world of international relations, there's always another plot twist just around the corner.